صل على أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع ذكره وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أتخذ من دونه آلية إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قوم يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعد من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض ميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسله منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالأرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثل ما يركبون وإن نشاء نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا متاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم انفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفي في سور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بأسنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلى ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم أزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناه على مكانة فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن يؤمر نكس في الخلق أفلا يأكلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وزللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند مخزرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم يرى الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعلكم من شجر أخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العظيم. اللهم صل سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
Thank you. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فاتحة. ज़ैनब ने कहा बाप के कदमों से लिपट कर अब आए हो बाबा। ज़ैनब ने कहा बाप के कदमों से लिपट कर अब आए हो बाबा। जब लुट गया परदेस में अम्मा का भरा घर अब आए हो बाबा। बाबा घर आना ही था مالک کی رضا سے اس وقت نہ آئے، اس وقت نہ آئے جب خاک پہ دم توڑ رہا تھا میرا اکبر، اب آئے ہو بابا۔ زینب نے کہا باپ کے قدموں سے لپٹ کر، کٹ کٹ کے گرے نہر پہ جب بازوئے عباس، اور کوئی نہ تھا پاس، اور کوئی نہ تھا پاس۔ اس وقت صدا آپ کو دیتا تھا دلاور، اب آئے ہو بابا۔ زینب نے کہا باپ کے قدموں سے لپٹ کر، اب آئے ہو بابا۔ جب بھائی کا سر کٹتا تھا میں دیکھ رہی تھی، حضرت کو صدا دی، حضرت کو صدا دی، سر کھولے ہوئے روتی تھی میں خیمے کے در پر، اب آئے ہو بابا۔ زینب نے کہا باپ کے قدموں سے لپٹ کر، اب آئے ہو بابا۔ جب بالی سکینہ کے گوہر چھینے گئے تھے، لگتے تھے تماچے، لگتے تھے تماچے، حسرت سے مجھے دیکھتی تھی بین مزتر، بانوئے مزتر، اب آئے ہو بابا، اب آئے ہو بابا۔ زینب نے کہا باپ کے قدموں سے لپٹ کر، اب آئے ہو بابا۔ ایک رات کے مہمان ہیں پھر قائد سلاسل، اب آنے سے کیا حاصل، اب آنے سے کیا حاصل، بازاروں میں ہم جائیں گے سب کھلے سر، اب آئے ہو بابا، اب آئے ہو بابا۔ زینب نے کہا باپ کے قدموں پہ لپٹ کر، اب آئے ہو بابا۔ صلوات۔ This is a new marsiya I discovered today. Some of the words are from the poet and some are my own. Titled کوفہ اداس ہے۔ کوفہ اداس ہے، کوفہ اداس ہے، کوفہ اداس ہے، کوفہ اداس ہے۔ کیسا یہ دن ہے آج کہ دنیا اداس ہے، مولا اٹھو کہ مسجد کوفہ اداس ہے، مولا اٹھو کہ مسجد کوفہ اداس ہے۔ کیسے سنبھالوں دل میرا، کیسے سنبھالوں دل میرا کہ دنیا اداس ہے، کوفہ اداس ہے، دنیا اداس ہے۔ للہ کربلا کا تصور نہ کیجئے، للہ کربلا کا تصور نہ کیجئے، للہ دریائے القما، للہ دریائے القما کا نظارہ اداس ہے، کیسے سنبھالوں دل میرا کہ دنیا اداس ہے۔ حسنین بے قرار ہیں، زینب بھی مضطرب، حسنین بے قرار ہیں، زینب بھی مضطرب، روح جناب فاطمہ، روح جناب فاطمہ زہرا اداس ہے، کیسے سنبھالوں دل میرا کہ دنیا اداس ہے۔ محتاج و بے قرار مسکین کہ ہے دل میں زلزلہ، محتاج و بے قرار و مسکین کہ ہے دل میں زلزلہ، دیکھو کہ ہر یتیم کا، دیکھو کہ ہر یتیم کا چہرہ اداس ہے، کیسے سنبھالوں دل میرا کہ دنیا اداس ہے۔ مشکل کشا تیری امت میں شور و شین، مشکل کشا تیری امت میں شور و شین، دنیا و دین کا ہر نفس، دنیا و دین کا ہر نفس پورا اداس ہے، کیسے سنبھالوں دل میرا آقا کہ دنیا اداس ہے۔ مولا اٹھو کہ مسجد کوفہ اداس ہے، مولا اٹھو کہ مسجد کوفہ اداس ہے، کیسے سنبھالوں دل میرا، کیسے سنبھالوں دل میرا کہ دنیا اداس ہے۔ فاتحہ۔
رحم اللہ من قرأ الفاتحہ۔ بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم، الرحمن الرحیم مالک یوم الدین، اهدنا الصراط المستقیم صراط الذین انعمت علیہم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين رحمة للعالمين مولانا وسيدنا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأرض مولانا حجة ابن الحسن عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم: اللهم صل على محمد. قال: يا علي، من قتلك فقد قتلني، ومن أبغضك فقد أبغضني، ومن سبك فقد سبني، لأنك مني كنفسي، روحك من روحي, وتينتك من تينتي. The Holy Prophet, in his khutbah of Sha'aban, he addresses Amirul Mu'mineen and he says, Ya Ali, O Ali, Man qatalaka faqad qatalani. Whoever kills you has killed me. وَمَنْ أَبْغَضَكَ فَقَدْ أَبْغَضَنِي. Whoever has hatred for you, he has hatred for me. وَمَنْ سَبَّكَ فَقَدْ سَبَّنِي. Whoever abuses you, swears at you, says bad things about you, has said them about me. لِأَنَّكَ مِنِّي. Because you are from me, كَنَفْسِي. As if you are me, as if we are one. إِنَّكَ مِنِّي كَنَفْسِي. You are like me, myself. Ruhuka min ruhi. Mine and your spirit is from the same. Mine and your clay, our physical makeup, our physical creation is from the same source and origin. These are the words of Rasulullah. Today we pay tribute to the great Mawla, our great Agha, our great Amirul Mu'mineen. This is the day on which all of the Ummah has lost its father figure. This is the day upon which all of us Shias, we feel deprived and we feel orphaned at the loss of Amirul Mu'mineen. In the time of Muawiyah, when he was gathering his strength, whilst Imam was still alive, of course, Muawiyah put together a team around him. One of those chief members of the team of Muawiyah who helped him with his own cunningness and his own slyness and his own trickery and treachery was someone called Amr ibn As. Muawiyah writes to Amr ibn As and says, join me, come into my close companionship. I will give you power, I will give you position. I'll make you, for example, the prime minister of my government. Amr ibn As, he has a history himself. He was the one that in one of the battles, he was fighting against Amirul Mu'mineen. And at the time when almost the game was over for Amr, and Amirul Mu'mineen was about to attack and finish him, he exposed himself in a very shameful way. And Amirul Mu'mineen diverted his gaze and looked away. And people made fun of Amr thereafter for a long, long time, that you were the one to do this cowardly act. Amr was kind of looking for some kind of prestige. Muawiyah tells him, come over to my side, I will give you prestige. Amr begins to debate now. What should I do? Should I go and give myself over to Muawiyah? Should I join him? Amr had two sons. He calls them. He says, advise me. What should I do? One son says, don't even think about it. Go ahead. Go for it. You're getting power. You're getting glory. You're getting money. You're getting fame. You're getting fortune. Go for it. The other one says, Baba, if you want dunya, go for it. But if you want to secure your hereafter, then never go for this. He says, why? He says, Baba, Muawiyah is the opponent of Amirul Mu'mineen. Amirul Mu'mineen is the beloved of Allah. You put yourself against him, you're spoiling your hereafter. You want the world, go for it. If that's your ambition, you will get everything. Fame, fortune, money, the works. You want the akhirat, then don't go for it. Amr ibn As begins to debate with himself. He's not sure. Now what do I do? They say 7 times he calls his horse to be readied for him. 7 times he tells his servants or whoever it may be, get my horse ready, get my horse ready. And then he sends it back 7 times. Still not sure, still not sure. In the end, he says, I'm going. He mounts his horse. They ask him, now, what made you change your mind? What did he say? Look at his reasoning. The reasoning is important. Look at his reasoning. He says, dunya, the world today is cash. Who has seen akhirat, which is credit? I'll take the cash today. Who has seen the credit? This kind of thinking about who has seen the credit and I'll take the cash today is directly opposite to the thinking of Amirul Mu'mineen. In Amirul Mu'mineen's life, you will see nothing but harshness and pains in this world. In Amirul Mu'mineen's life, you will see no comfort. You know, he has this one sentence, khutbah number 160 in Nahjul Balagha. You know what he says in there? First of all, he talks about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. He describes how the Prophet was completely non-materialistic and worldly and how he was focused on the hereafter. And then he gives his own example. You know what he says? He says, this clothing of mine, this shirt of mine, there are so many patches that have been sewn onto my shirt. Now I feel shy to go to the person who was patching my shirt, and I feel shy to tell him, now put another patch on. Because he will turn around and tell me, Ya Abul Hasan, O Amir al-Mu'mineen, there is no room left now on your shirt to put a new patch. It is all patches. Amir al-Mu'mineen, the head of the government, the head of the religion, presiding and ruling over so much land and so many people. We've had good leaders in the world. We remember some good leaders here and there. Usually when the cameras are on them, they're good leaders. When the cameras are off them, we see a different side of them. Amirul Mu'mineen, do you know he's the only leader in history? I will challenge, take my challenge. He's the only leader in history to go hungry, not when cameras are on him, not even when he knows there are hungry people in his government. He chooses to go hungry on the basis of a probability. He says, people say to him, why are you putting so much pressure on yourself, Amirul Mu'mineen? Why do you live so simply? Why do you live so much in hunger and pain? He says in Nahjul Balagha, لَعَلَّ بِالْيَمَنِ وَالْبِالْيَمَامَ. May we be sacrificed for this man. He says, maybe, it could be, that in the far off places which I cannot reach, like Yemen and Yamama, there could be someone hungry. Out of the pain of the probability that there will be someone hungry, I also choose to be hungry. Let not anyone say tomorrow that our ruler ate better than us while we were suffering. No one will say this. Ya Ali. They will all submit that whatever difficulty and pressures we were under, our Mawla and Imam was under more pressure than us. See how much comfort and hope this gives to us. Whenever we are afflicted by anything in our lives, whenever we are subjected to any pressures of this world, remember Amirul Mu'mineen. My Mawla was worse off in the worldly sense. My Mawla was hungrier, more in pain, living in more constrained circumstances. Someone comes to Allama Tabatabai and says, Agha, why do we all of the Imams are equal in one sense, but then Amirul Mu'mineen, why do we elevate him more? Allama replies, because Amirul Mu'mineen was more mazloom than any other Imam. They say, what about Imam Hussein? He says, no, Amirul Mu'mineen's mazloomiyat was different to Imam Hussein's. Imam Hussein's mazloomiyat, if you look at it, if you want to be very, very objective about it, okay, it was one day full of tragedy, the day of Ashura, and a few days before, of course. Amirul Mu'mineen, from the day the eyes of the Holy Prophet closed on this world, was mazloom. Number one, his right taken away. Number two, his property taken away. Number three, his own wife, the daughter of Rasulullah, attacked in front of him, beaten in front of him, sworn at in front of him. Losing a child to miscarriage in that attack. And the years go by and the years go by. And there's no one there to hear Amirul Mu'mineen. Where does he go now? He goes into the deserts. He goes near the wells. There was a well, they say. He had nowhere else to pour out his heart. Zahra was gone. Rasulullah had gone. The children were young. He would pour all of it out into the desert, into this well, and cry and lament. Amirul Mu'mineen. As we come closer to the date of his shahadat, so Amr-e-As now has joined Muawiyah. Muawiyah's machinery is in full swing. Muawiyah's machinery is to latch onto every possible political opportunity to discredit Amirul Mu'mineen. So first of all, he blames him for the death of Usman, for the assassination of Usman. Then he blames him for all other kinds of things. Then he wages war against him, until finally we come to Siffin. Siffin was the episode in which Muawiyah boasts. He says Amirul Mu'mineen had two hands, two arms. One of them I cut in Egypt, Malik-e-Ashtar. The other one of them I cut in Siffin, Ammar-e-Yasir. How Amirul Mu'mineen used to mourn Ammar. Aina Ammar, Aina Ammar, where is my Ammar? Where is Malik? Where are these people? I could speak to them, I could confide in them. Where are they today? Siffin happens. After Siffin, again Muawiyah, on the brink of defeat, Amirul Mu'mineen's forces are attacking. Malik-e-Ashtar is attacking. Malik-e-Ashtar was a few moments, maybe you can say an hour, 2 hours away from winning the battle. Muawiyah was in front, being shielded by his people. Malik was charging through and cutting through. Muawiyah looks at Amr ibn As and says, now what do we do? Amr says, I have a plan. See, this is where we try to communicate to you, mu'mineen and mu'minat. There is Islam and there is Islam. Amr says, I have a plan. Take some spears. I know some of the people around Amirul Mu'mineen, how gullible and how ignorant they are, even though they are Muslims. We take the spears, we take the Qur'ans, we put the Qur'ans on the spear and we raise it high. And we claim to them, no more fighting. Why are we fighting? We are all brothers. Let the Qur'an decide between us. Amirul Mu'mineen, when the word reached Amirul Mu'mineen that now Muawiyah is offering you peace on the Qur'an, Amirul Mu'mineen says, what are you talking about? On the first day I told you, we don't fight. Let Muawiyah come, let me come. 1-to-1, we finish the matter. There's no need for these thousands of people to die. Now, after all of these days, after all of this fighting, after we have given so many shuhada, now you are telling me to leave the fight and make peace? This is not how we make peace. They took out their swords. They put the swords on Amirul Mu'mineen's neck. They said, either you call back Malik or we will kill you here. This was the birth of a new group in Islam called the Khawarij. This Khawarij sprang up from this incident. They got their main kind of oomph and motivation after this incident. They were tricked. Amirul Mu'mineen is telling them, he is raising the Quran. I am the speaking Quran in front of you. He is raising the Quran. I am one of those equal to the Quran. Do you not remember Rasulullah on Ghadir telling you that my Quran and my family will go together, they will be together, they will never be separate? They said, nothing doing. Call him back. Malik is called back. Now Malik, maybe he could have thought, if I do what I want as Malik, I will go and I'll win the day. And there'll be no more Muawiyah, there'll be no more fitna, everything will be sorted. But he hears that your Mawla has told you to go back. He puts aside his own personal whims and desires. He could have won the day that day. He could have won the battle that day. He could have finished off the evil of that person that day. But he says, no, my Mawla is telling me to go back. Put aside your personal, go back to your Mawla. He goes back to Amirul Mu'mineen. There is what you may call a peace agreement, if you want to call it that, but it was a joke. Then they realized, Amr As was actually lying. Muawiyah actually deceived us. Now what do? Now they make a plan, these Khawarij. The Khawarij plan was, we don't want Muawiyah, we don't want Amr As, and we don't want Amirul Mu'mineen. Neither of these three. We don't want any of them because they thought they all had made mistakes, na'udhu billah. They said Amirul Mu'mineen also made a mistake and he didn't repent. So they said, we don't want any of these three. Let's get rid of all of these three. So they make a plan. The plan of the Khawarij was, we send an assassin to each of the three places. One to Egypt to take care of Amr As. One to Sham to take care of Muawiyah. One to Kufa to kill Amirul Mu'mineen. And the night they choose is Laylatul Qadr. This was there. Imagine the level of their misconception and ignorance. They said, the best of deeds should be done on the best of nights. We'll choose Laylatul Qadr for this deed. It so happened that in Egypt, Amr As was ill. He couldn't go to the mosque that day. He sent someone else in his place. That someone else got killed that night, mistakenly, thinking it was Amr As. So Amr As was saved. Muawiyah went and he was attacked but was not killed. He was wounded in his leg. That wound then got infected and it smelled very bad and it was an extremely disturbing thing, but he wasn't dead. He survived. And Amirul Mu'mineen. Allah knows better his plan. Allah knows better his plan. And Amirul Mu'mineen, who has submitted to Allah his whole life, when he is struck in the mihrab, what does he say? Fuztu wa Rabbil Kaaba. Now I am successful by the Lord of the Kaaba. I swear I am successful. When this happens, we've been listening over the last couple of nights of how he spent these last 2 nights. Last night's incidents we recited last night, but just a few more details about this. As he is in his last moments, the companions are coming. The companions come and they seek an audience with Amirul Mu'mineen. Amirul Mu'mineen says, I don't have strength anymore to answer your questions. The companions say, Oh Amirul Mu'mineen, tell us something. He says, Qala Rasulullah, Oh Ali, you and I, the Holy Prophet had told me, Oh Ali, you and I are the 2 fathers of this nation. The companions say, in that case, we are all yatim on this day and on this night. We are losing our father. Habib ibn Amr says, I went to see Amirul Mu'mineen on that last night of his in this world. I saw nearby there was one of his daughters was crying so profusely. I thought I was going to be strong, but when I saw the daughter crying, I began to cry. And as I began to cry and the daughter was crying, the companions outside the room began to cry. At that moment, Amirul Mu'mineen opened his eyes. He says, my companions, if you were to see what I can see, you would not be crying. They say, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, what do you see? He says, in front of me, I see the rows of the messengers and prophets of Allah are there. I see in front of me, my beloved Fatima is there. Next to all of them, my beloved brother Rasulullah is there. They are saying to me, "Oh Ali, our beloved Ali, we have missed you. Come quickly to us." They are all welcoming. "Don't cry for me," he's saying. Giving them strength, giving them sabr. But they were so much attached to Amir al-Mu'mineen that they could not help but cry. He then brings his family members around him and he says to them, "Allow me to give you my final advice to you." They gather around. Asbagh ibn Nabata is there, one of the final companions to be with Amir al-Mu'mineen is there. Asbagh says, "Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, give me some final advice that I can remember." Amir al-Mu'mineen says, "Asbagh, my advice is very simple." He says, "Asbagh, there is no bigger advice than this. Until yesterday, Ali was your companion. Today, for a few moments, he is your guest. Tomorrow, he will no longer remain. There is no bigger reminder than this, than death itself." And then he calls his family members and he begins to tell them one by one his advices. All of these advices which Amir al-Mu'mineen is giving, believe me, there was no one more practicing of these advices than him himself. Listen to these words. He calls Imam Hassan and he calls Imam Hussein. He says, "I advise you to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Have a degree of organization in your life. Make sure your lives are systematic and well planned." He calls them and he tells them, "My sons, remind yourselves of a few things." He says, Allah fil aitam. Remember Allah in the matter of orphans. Do not let orphans suffer. Amirul Mu'mineen, how would you lovingly call the orphans in Kufa and feed them with your own hands? One of the companions says, "When I used to see Ali with the orphans, the way he used to make the orphan sit on his lap, he used to kiss the orphan's head, he would stroke the orphan's hair, he would take the food with his own hands and put it in the mouth of the orphan. Wallah, I used to think and I used to say that I wish I would be one of these orphans for Amirul Mu'mineen to treat me like this. Allah fil aitam. Allah fi jayranikum. I remind you of Allah. Be good to your neighbors," he says. Allah fil Quran. Don't neglect Allah's duty in the matter of the Holy Quran. Allah fis salah. I remind you again and again, remember Allah. Be careful of the duty of Allah, towards Allah in your namaz. He says all of these things. He bids farewell to all of his family. And then he calls Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein especially close. He says, "Listen, my last wishes are this. Not one janazah should be prepared, but 4 janazahs should be prepared." They say, "Father, why? Why 4? He says, "I do not feel safe. I have so many enemies." Imagine the lion of Allah has so many enemies. He says, "I have so many enemies amongst the Khawarij. I am fearful they will do something to my body. 1 fake janazah should be sent to Makkah. 1 fake janazah should be sent to Medina. 1 fake janazah should be sent to Basra. But the real janazah, you don't need to worry. You just need to lift the coffin from the end. The beginning of the coffin, the start of the coffin will be taken itself." They say, "Baba, how will the coffin go itself?" He says, "Mikael and Jibraeel will come and they will lift my coffin and they will take it to a preordained place. You just need to lift it from the back." Amirul Mu'mineen's soul leaves his body. Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, they take the body for ghusl. They say that Imam Hassan would wash the body. Imam Hussein would pour the water for the body. But do you know, they did not need to turn the body of Amirul Mu'mineen. The angels were helping them turning the body of Amirul Mu'mineen. Then after the ghusl is done, they call Janab Zainab and they call Kulsum and they say, "Oh, our sisters, bring the hunut which was given by Jibraeel to our grandfather. Bring the hunut of heaven." They bring the hunut of heaven. They put the hunut on Amir al-Mu'mineen. They put the body into the kafan. They put the body now into the coffin. And then they do as their father asked. It was Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. With just a few final members, very, very few people were there in this burial. They lift the coffin from the back. The front is taken miraculously. Some riwayat say there were two figures who had their faces covered. When they were asked, who are these two figures? Imam Hassan replied that one is Mikail and one is Jibrail, and this is what my father had predicted. The coffin proceeds, it leaves Kufa, it goes towards a place that was very much unknown during those times. It was Najaf, but not as Najaf today. It was Najaf, it was very deserted at that time. When it reaches Najaf, the coffin miraculously stops at a certain place, and they understand that this is the place of burial. They begin to dig the ground. When they dig the ground, what do they see? They see, just after a small amount of digging, there is already a grave prepared there. When they look inside the grave, they find a stone tablet. Upon this tablet it is written, this is the grave prepared by the Prophet Nuh for the Abdus Saleh, for the righteous servant, the successor of Mustafa. The grave was prepared by our Prophet. The burial is done by the angels. The ghusl is done by the angels. The hunut is from heaven. The burial is done. Before the burial, the namaz-e-mayyat is recited by Imam Hassan. Then the burial is performed. And then all the rites are performed. And then Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, giving each other condolences, they come back towards Kufa. As they come back towards Kufa, they hear a crying and a wailing and a screaming from a place in Kufa. They say to one another, what is this? This is someone in deep pain. Let us go and see who is this person. When they reach that place, they see there is a man there. He is old. He is disabled. He is blind. They go close to him. They say, why do you cry? He says, I am missing my friend. They say, which friend? They say, since the last 3 days, I have not been able to see my friend. They said, tell me about this friend. He says, this friend would come in the night time. I have no one. I have no family. I have no friends. But this person used to come. He used to sit next to me. He used to listen to all my talks. He used to tell me to tell him all my pain. I used to open up to him. I would tell him all my pain. Then he would hug me. He would caress me. He would feed me with his hands. They say, tell us more about this person. He says, I don't know what to tell you. He never gave me his name. He never told me who he was. All he would say is that you are Abdullah, I am Abdullah, you are servant of God, I am the servant of God, you are in pain, I am in pain. This is what he used to tell me. They say to him, oh man, do you know who this was? This was our father. This was Amirul Mu'mineen. He says, where is your father now? They say to him, our father is no more. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. He is no more. He has left this world. He says, in that case, take me to his grave. They say, how will we take you to his grave? You are blind. They say, he mourned so much over Amir al-Mu'mineen for the loss of Amir al-Mu'mineen at that time that he himself died at that time. Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein give each other more condolences and they go back to their home. Allah la'natullah lil qawmi adh-dhalimin. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلِبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ السلام عليك يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين. The Taboot and the Shabi of Amir al-Mu'mineen is coming in. We were not there on that day. We could not participate in that funeral. But today here we can at least give our condolences in this way.
मलक साथ है सर खुले जिब्रील है हो गया महशर बपा آتا ہے تابوت یہ، فاطمہ فردوس سے نکلی ہے سر پیٹتی، کہتی ہوئی اہل عزا، آتا ہے تابوت یہ، شبرو شبیر نے چاک گرے کیے، پیٹتے ہے کرب کا، آتا ہے تابوت یہ، زینب مغموم بھی روتی ہے سر پیٹتی، ماتم و گل ہے بپا، آتا ہے تابوت یہ، سجدے میں ہوا قتل مرتضی و محمد و مصیبت و محمد و مصیبت، سجدے میں ہوا زینب حزی غشم ہے پری، بی بیا سبی روتی ہے کھری، و محمدہ کی ان سے ہے صدا، سجدے میں ہوا قتل مرتضی و محمدہ و مصیبتہ و محمدہ و مصیبتہ، سجدے میں ہوا بے پدر ہوئے سبط نے نبی، روتے ہیں ملاک انبیاء سبھی، ماتم علی ان میں ہے صدا، سجدے میں ہوا قتل مرتضی و محمدہ و مصیبتہ و محمدہ و مصیبتہ، سجدے میں ہوا قتل مرتضی، زلزلے میں ہے قبر مصطفیٰ، کانپتی ہے آج لحد فاطمہ، اہل آسماں کرتے ہیں بکا، سجدے میں ہوا قتل مرتضی و محمدہ و مصیبتہ و محمدہ ومصيبتا تجد میں ہوا قتل مرتضی. الفاتحة مع الصلوات.
زيادة يمين الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمين الله في أرضه وحجته على عباده. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. أشهد أنك جاهدت في الله حق جهاده وعملت بكتابه واتبعت سنن نبيه صلى الله عليه وآله حتى دعاك الله إلى جواره فقبضك إليه باختياره وألزم أعداءك الحجة مع ما لك من الحجج البالغة على جميع خلقه. اللهم فاجعل نفسي مطمئنة بقدرك راضية بقضائك مولعة بذكرك ودعائك محبة لصفوة أوليائك محبوبة في أرضك وسمائك صابرة على نزول بلائك شاكرة لفواضل نعمائك ذاكرة لسوابغ آلائك مشتاقة إلى فرحة لقائك متزودة التقوى ليوم جزائك مستنة بسنن أوليائك مفارقة لأخلاق أعدائك مشغولة عن الدنيا بحمدك وثنائك. اللهم قلوب المخبتين إليك والها وسبل الراغبين إليك شارعا وعلام القاصدين إليك واضحا وأفئدة العارفين منك فازعا وأصوات الداعين إليك ساعدا وأبواب الإجابة لهم مفتحا ودعوة من ناجاك مستجابا وتوبة من أناب إليك مقبولا وعبرة من بكى من خوفك مرحوما والإغاثة لمن استغاث بك موجودا والإعانة لمن استعان بك مبذولا وعداتك لعبادك منجزا وزلل من استقالك مقالا وعمال العاملين لديك محفوظا وارزاقك إلى الخلائق من لدنك نازلا وعوائد المزيد إليهم واصلا وذنوب المستغفرين مغفورا وحوائج خلقك عندك مقضية وجوائز السائلين عندك موفرة وعوائد المزيد متواترة وموائد المستطعمين معدة ومناهل الظماء مترعة. اللهم فاستجب دعائي واقبل ثنائي واجمع بيني وبين أوليائي بحق محمد وعلي وفاطمة والحسن والحسين إنك ولي نعمائي ومنتهى منايا وغاية رجائي في منقلبي ومثواي. أنت إلهي وسيدي ومولاي اغفر لأوليائنا وكف عنا أعداءنا واشغلهم عن أذانا وأظهر كلمة الحق واجعلها العليا وأدحذ كلمة الباطل واجعلها السفلى إنك على كل شيء قدير ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولى وابن مولى. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء سلطان أبا الحسن علي بن موسى الرضا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل وليك صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وقائدا وناصرا حتى تسكنه برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. We will proceed now with the adhan and Salat al-Maghribain, after which we will have iftar, and after iftar, if we can all come back inside, and we'll have dua iftitah together, inshallah. We'll now proceed with namaz, inshallah.
Today was the first time I heard the history.
Oh, really? Well, there was so much more. But,
sure.
but
About Sifin.
Sifin. Sifin was a game changer. Yeah, it's 7:37. Jamil? Yeah. No, we can discuss more. This Sifin is very fascinating. The way Sifin was.
I think the same thing is happening today with Trump.
Okay. It is.
The devil is playing. I think Trump is supported by the devil. You can see it.
Yeah, maybe.
He tells so many lies. And yet he support. I mean, how do you... أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين عليا ولي الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح hayya ala khairil amal, hayya ala khairil amal. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. La